So thanks very much for being with us today, Pippa.
Thank you, Kate, and thanks for the introduction. I'm actually really excited to be presenting today. But this is the first time I've presented over Zoom, so please bear with me because I'm a bit intimidated by the technology. So as you all know, we've been doing a project about raising dementia awareness amongst school children in Australia. And I'm just going to give you an overview of what we did in that project and where that project's at the moment. So this project came about through some conversations I was having with different people, both within the university and within the community, about dementia and about the importance of children knowing what dementia is and what it means to be living with dementia. And the reason being, and I'm sure you're all aware of this, is the fact that we've got an aging population, so the rates of people living with dementia are going to be increasing. And so children today are more than ever before likely to have family members and friends living with the dementia. So the project I'm talking about has been called Project DARE, and DARE stands for Dementia, Knowledge, Arts, Research and Education. And we pulled together a collaborative team of academics. So we've got people in education, nursing, I'm sat in medicine, we've got people in arts. We've also got community members. So we've got primary school teachers from the primary school we piloted the project at, and also artists from the community. And we piloted this intervention last year in 3 stages. And the stages were delivered over 3 weeks. So in week 1, the children created their first artwork. In week 2, they learned about dementia. And then in week 3, they modified their original artwork based on what they'd learned in week 2. And I'll just explain the process in more detail as we go through the presentation. So we used a mixed methods approach where we used both qualitative and quantitative data, and we chose to do that because we knew that just using art alone would raise a lot of questions within the university about whether the results were strong enough. So we also used a survey tool called Kids for Dementia, which has been developed by Jess Baker at UNSW, and she's part of the team that has been run this project. And so we did the survey before the first lesson and after the last lesson. And then we also looked at the children's artwork that they completed in lesson 1 and lesson 3. And then we also spoke to the children after lesson 3 and asked them to explain their artwork. And what we wanted to show was that there were changes in the children's knowledge and perception about dementia. And that might be things they could write down or things they were able to articulate verbally or in the artwork. So this is what lesson 1 looked like. So the first lesson was run by the artists from Big Fat Smile. Now, Big Fat Smile's a local non-government organisation, and they employ degree qualified artists who work with children from preschool through to early high school. And they run art programmes like for after school care activities and also within the preschool setting. And they came on board to deliver the art lessons for us. And so all the artists are actually active career artists that are currently exhibiting. And so it was fantastic to have real artists involved in the establishment of this project. And this is obviously some photographs of the first stage. So you can see the children had access to a lot of art equipment that they wouldn't normally have. Pastels, inks, paints. They also had tools to paint with and use that they wouldn't necessarily use in a normal setting, such as twigs, as well as what we'd expect like paintbrushes. And you can see from the pictures of the hands was that they loved getting messy. And one of the things that really blew me away about this was the feedback we had from the kids, both to us and also to their classroom teachers who were in the room when we delivered this bit of the program, was that they loved actually having exposure to the art, and they were asking why they didn't normally have such good quality resources. And that was something I didn't expect to hear at all. So the second lesson was developed to talk to the children about dementia and explain what dementia was, and this was done in collaboration between the primary school teacher and the education academics at the university. And so it was connected to the syllabus because we were very conscious. Most of us have kids that are primary school aged, and we all hear the whole time there's a crowded curriculum, there's no room to put anything else in the curriculum. So we knew that anything that we did needed to be linked to the curriculum in order for there to be any uptake in the future. And so everything about this lesson links into the curriculum sections for New South Wales, which will also template to Australia's curriculum. And they used a variety of activities. So we talk about people having different ways of learning. And so instead of just having all paper-based activities, there were arts activities. And I'll just show you and explain that a bit more. So each child was given an activity sheet, and this was printed off on A3 paper. And so within the hour that lesson 2 was delivered in, they covered 6 activities, and that included talking about what they already knew about dementia, if they have personal experience of someone living with dementia. They listened to a song about living with dementia, and they also learned a little bit about brain anatomy and what happens when you have dementia. And so each child in the class completed one of these sheets in lesson 2. And here's a picture just to give you some idea of what it looked like when the children were having those lessons. And that's the class teacher, Corinna, that was involved in this program. So lesson 3 was the second art intervention. So the artists from Big Fat Smile went back into the classroom, and they gave the children copies of their original artwork. So they provided a coloured copy and a black and white copy, and asked them to modify their artwork based on what they'd learned about dementia, and using the art resources to show how memories might fade. So they had tracing paper, they had inks to do washes on their artwork. They were encouraged to tear or cut up the paper and produce something, and that went onto board so it could be displayed at a later date. And again, you can see here the children hard at work. Now we were lucky enough that the school we piloted this in, it gave us access to the whole of stage 2, which are mainly 8 and 9-year-olds. And so over 100 children were given this program, and we did that in 3 separate classes. So some of the classes were quite full, as you can see. So here are some of the artworks, the before and the after, to give you some idea of how the children modified it. Now, when they did their first artwork, they were asked to draw something that they had a fond memory of. And most of the children did things like holidays or something nice they'd done with their family. And you can see on the left-hand side, I think that was a sunset of someone's holiday and then how they modified it. But needless to say, we had some kids that did Pokemon, and we were like a little bit concerned, but at the same time, none of us wanted to influence what they wanted to draw. So at the top, you can see the original Pokemon, which is fine, but we weren't really sure that the children had actually understood what we were talking about in terms of memory. But then when they came back in lesson 3, like I feel that the child, and so did the other people on the team, that the child actually did understand what we were talking about and the impact of dementia on memory. So even though the original artwork wasn't perhaps what we were expecting, we think that they did actually understand and increase their knowledge around dementia. And again, here's another example where you've got on the left the original artwork, and then on the right how it was modified. So I'm hoping it did. So I've got a short video that we were lucky enough that one of the researchers, her husband's a videographer, and he was on site and was able to capture what happened as we went. So this video just summarizes what I've said, and I'm just gonna, it's a couple of minutes, so I'll just play it all for you. Okay, so it's
day one and we're at all public school, and it's the first day of Project Air. So we've got 4 artists from Big Fat Smile at Coromel who are giving their time to teach the children about specific artwork and using the artwork to express their memories of an event in the past. And through the lesson, the children are learning some art skills about using different mediums and layering of the mediums to create different effects.
Through expressing with the visual arts, children can learn so much about themselves. They can become braver, they can gain confidence, but they can learn through taking chances, looking at the work of other artists, and basically expressing the way they feel. I think they gain knowledge through that opportunity to actually let go and not feel constrained by whether they're going to get something wrong. I think that's a really valuable learning tool, because in a school setting, it's often, there's a fear of whether they're going to get the answer right. With visual arts, that's not a real issue, so I think that's why it's powerful.
I can see a lot of value in this program for all the students, especially for the ones who've already been impacted by dementia in their own families. My experience as a school teacher is that it's something that hasn't been discussed in a formal school setting before, and it's really a nice outlet for children to, in most cases, just explore and actually get a bit of information about it, but for others to actually help them process what they might be going through in their own family.
We have a Grandparents' Day every year, an annual Grandparents' Day, and we have a lot of the grandparents turn up. We have hundreds of them, and some of them are suffering from dementia. So for our school, it's always been a great respect in the community for older people and how we interact with them, and dementia is just part of it. Well, I've definitely seen that the kids have like an emotional response to learning about dementia, and I think that art's a perfect way for them to express that in a positive way, so they can let their emotions and their feelings show through artwork. They might not be able to express that in words so well, but they can be very creative and get that out in an artwork. And I guess with children that don't express themselves so well articulately, it's a chance for them to show their artistic side.
We just try, as we do, as all educators do, just to give the children a voice, give them a chance to have a little bit of express their feelings.
If kids haven't really had any experience with people who are living with dementia, then I think it's good for them to understand that they're real people and that they're just like everybody else, in that they want to be respected, they want to be talked to, and they want their friends and family around them. And even though they might behave differently sometimes, that it's still the person who's still inside them. Also working with the University of Wollongong and sharing those community partnerships, it's good for the children to be part of that with the community, and also for them to basically might see their futures doing something very similar.
What's amazed me is the quality of some of the artwork that the children are producing, just the way they're able to express themselves on the paper, and some of the verbal feedback we're receiving is just amazing. Like, as Charles just said to me, that they've never covered the whole piece of paper and art before, and that it just looks so professional, and you could just tell he was so pleased with himself about the piece of artwork that he produced. And we've actually had to ask some other children to leave the room because it was the end of the session, but they just wanted to keep on adding to their artwork. So it's been a great process so far.
Okay, so just a little bit about what's happened since we've piloted the program and what the results show. So as you remember that we did the survey before they did lesson 1 and after they did lesson 3, and we were able to match data for 74 children. So obviously some kids were sick, or some didn't like the way we asked the children to code the surveys, and by using their initials and their class number, and some of them just didn't match. So we had 74 pre and post match data, and there were slightly more boys than girls. Most of them were born in Australia, which isn't surprising for where the school's situated in our locality. and the majority were aged 8 or 9 years, which again is not surprising because we were looking at stage 2, and that's the majority age group. There were a few 7-year-olds and a few 10-year-olds. So we did some paired t-tests looking at the changes in results on the surveys, and as you can see, a lot of them showed significant improvement. So spending time with people with dementia can be fun, improve. People with dementia can feel when others show them love and understanding. People with dementia have hobbies and interests. People with dementia can be creepy, like improve, but in a positive way. You can catch dementia from other people, and again, that improved in a positive way, so they knew it wasn't something you could catch. Dementia is when something has gone wrong with your brain, so they understood a little bit about what was happening, and dementia is unpredictable. So, and only one variable got worse, but not significantly, and that was, I wouldn't really know what to say or do if I met someone with dementia. And the team have met and spoken about that, and we don't actually feel that that's a bad thing to have got a little bit worse, and that's maybe something that we can work on in the future, of actually talking about how to communicate and what things you can say. So as well as analysing the data, and I haven't got any of the analysis of the pictures here to show you yet, but we've also had a number of art exhibitions. So this is a picture of the art gallery opening in the community, because we wanted the children to really feel that their artwork was valued. So I guess this project had 2 prongs to it, and we wanted to show value in the art as well. And so yeah, there's some more pictures from the art gallery. And again, and you've got the pre and post artwork here. So on the left is what they originally did, and on the right with the bulldog clips at the top is how they modified their artwork. And we used a visitor's book to actually capture comments from parents who hadn't obviously been involved in the project in the classroom setting, and also any community members that came to the exhibition. And so that way the project had more reach than just one stage within one school. And you can see, I'll read a couple of these out because the fonts aren't that clear, that we had very positive feedback. So we'll have to come back for a second viewing. So much to see and so emotional. Probably the most impressive and well executed project I've seen. Wonderful to see so many professionals supporting learning and creativity of young people. What an incredible exhibition. We love the interpretations made by each of the kids. So where to now? So Project Dare is, we hope, going to happen in Aberdeen in Scotland in March. So we have a collaborator in Aberdeen who's going to run it in a class there, and she's made some slight adaptations so that it fits the Scottish curriculum, but otherwise it will be the same program. And what I would like to do with this project is to get further funding to pilot across 3 more demographically diverse schools in New South Wales, just to ensure that what we've got is a really solid foundation, because then I think potentially we have a program that the department could make widely available across the state and potentially across Australia. Okay. Just quickly, the acknowledgements. Obviously, I'm just one part of a big team, and I just want to acknowledge Michelle, Penny, Corinne, Victoria, and Jess, Corinne, and Janine, who are all integral in the development and execution of this project. And also to acknowledge that we received seed funding from UOW's Global Challenges program in 2016.